This is my second YouTube video, and it is another love story. This one is from the greatest generation. A 20-year-old young man from Scandia, Kansas signs up for the Navy at the start of World War II. At the end of basic training, he is assigned an MO of a Navy photographer, and he is sent to train in Corpus Christi, Texas. At Corpus Christi, he meets a young lady from Massachusetts named Millie Dubé, who packs his parachute each day for his parachute jumps. He's attracted to her and asks her out on a date. She agrees that he could take her to church. They fall in love and get engaged before he's sent off to the South Pacific. She writes to him all the time while he is stationed in the South Pacific. When he gets out of the service, they get married and move to his hometown of Scandia, Kansas. She gets homesick and they move back to Milton, Mass. There they raise a family, having 2 children, Jack and Karen, who would become my future wife. They spent 60 years together, holding hands each night as they fell asleep. When Lou passed away, I was there with my mother-in-law, and I will always remember what she said. Lou was a good Christian man. Hopefully when I pass away, I would like people to say he was a sober Christian man who tried to help people and not hurt them. In 2001, Lou and I spent about a month and a half working to put some information together. They were photos which he took while he was on active duty in the South Pacific. He wanted them preserved for his children and his grandchildren. I had limited success in getting them disseminated. I tried PowerPoint and then produced a video package on a DVD, which proved unreliable. Lou thought it was important for his children, his grandchildren, to know this information. I think it is also very valuable information for the general public to know. We need to know and remember this information in this time of strife when no one seems to get along. We need to remember how precious our freedom is, how the young men and women in the 1940s left their homes and volunteered to defend their country and our freedom. They went to Europe and the South Pacific to fight tyranny. I'm using the medium of YouTube to disseminate this information to the general public. As Lou said, God bless America, and I say, remember always, we are Americans, and we need to listen to each other, remembering that freedom comes with responsibility. Just ask our Ukrainian friends. This is a labor of love. Once I found out my cancer had returned, I put it to the top of my bucket list. I think we need to respect each other's opinion and work towards compromise. Hate has no place in our society. I will always respect the actions of 2 great American senators, John McCain and Teddy Kennedy. They were polar opposites in politics. They would argue with each other and try to reach a compromise. They would remain friends throughout it all. I really have not done much creative work over the past 4 years because of sickness and the quarantine. In the year 2018, I had a quadruple bypass. In the year 2019, I had the Whipple operation, and they found stage 1 pancreatic cancer. And then came the pandemic in 2020 and 2021. Now in 2022, I found out that cancer is back. I have been participating in a class at the Glastonbury Abbey that has reignited my creativity. My mojo is back. It is known as the artist way. In this video, it is Lou's voice narrating 48 of the pictures, and it is my voice narrating the rest of over 100 pictures from the text that he provided for those remaining pictures.
This is year 2001, 56 years after the end of World War II. A war America was fighting on two fronts. In Europe with their allies, Great Britain and France, against Germany, and in the Pacific against Japan. I enlisted in the U.S. Navy September the 17th, 1942, and was sent to the Naval Air Base at Corpus Christi, Texas. After my boot training, I eventually ended up as a Navy photographer. During this period of enlistment, I accumulated a large number of photographs. The years has taken their toll of them, so I have tried to preserve a number of these pictures on a CD disc, so that my children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren will have some memory of this bygone era.
Torpedo bomber formation off the Texas coast. SNJ trainer on flight over the coast of Texas. A pilot in training practicing water landings at Corpus Christi Naval Base.
This was a flight of the SNJ trainer planes they used in Corpus Christi, Texas, for the pilots to train on. The formation flight that I took over the coast of Texas someplace back in the year 1942.
Small training transports. PBY on takeoff at Corpus Christi, Texas. New transportation meets old. Taken in Texas, probably at King Ranch, our modern transportation of the 1940s meets the past, the 17th and 18th century of the Old West. This was the Christmas card I made at Corpus Christi in 1942.
This picture here, my 21st birthday, I was in the service, it must be probably, 10 months before I reached my 21st birthday.
NSA Photo Lab Group with our photo gear. Millie and I at Corpus Christi, Texas USO Center. Millie and I on the parachute loft steps. Our engagement photo just before shipping out for the Pacific. Admiral Nimitz pointing to where the carrier Lexington was sunk in the Pacific. Admiral Nimitz was the fleet admiral in the U.S. Navy. He played a major role in the naval history of World War II as Commander-in-Chief, U.S. Pacific Fleet.
These two pictures here was taken in the San Bernardino, California, at the old San Bernardino racetrack where the Navy had a station. We had no idea where we were actually headed for. But after receiving all this warm weather gear, it was rather obvious we were not going to go where it was cold. I'll never forget that one night while stationed here, I drew the PO of the watch. And I think it was from midnight on, something like that. And anywhere during the middle of my shift sometime, some ensign who was the officer of the day come walking through the barracks and said, "Sailor, where's the nearest fire alarm box?" I had no idea where it was at. And I said, "Right out that door, 75 feet, there's a pole, and there's a red box on it. That's the fire alarm box." He says, "Good job, sailor," and walked on. The next morning, I thought, just the heck of it, I'm going to look. I went out the door and looked. There was no fire alarm box out there. Heck, there wasn't even a pole anywhere in sight. It was a good thing he was a new ensign, and not some lieutenant that had been in the service for quite some time, where he would have asked me to show him the fire alarm. He was a new ensign, and not some lieutenant that had been in the service for quite some time, where he would have asked me to show him the fire alarm.
This is the troop ship we went overseas on. Actually, it was an Australian ship. Being Australian, we had 30 5 days of mutton stew 2 times a day. It was known as the Cape Perpetua.
This was mail call, and I believe it was probably our first mail that we had received since arriving in the islands at the Everglades in probably, I think it was June of 1944. After we'd been to sea for a couple of weeks, or maybe a couple of weeks and a half, we were approaching the 180th meridian. We were notified that being new polywogs as such, we would be initiated as we crossed. However, there was such a large number going over compared to the crew that it was impossible to initiate everybody. So they went through the group and picked out you, and you, and they took quite a large number, which went through the initiation for the whole crowd. Luckily, I got to watch it from the sideline. It was a pretty good show. Got to watch it.
Airstrip for our planes to land on Pitilou Island. Navy heads built over the water.
It reads like this. Our head is quite a honey, that we all admit. I'll try to word a picture if the censor will permit. It stands out to the ocean and has a wooden floor. There are not any windows, it hasn't got a door. The view is most enchanting. While sitting there we stare at multicolored fishes below us everywhere. There is beauty at sunrise, at noon terrific heat. Canopy of stars at night, the scenery can't be beat. Not a place of privacy is this enchanted shrine. The seats out there are numbered, a total of 39. We envy you, your marble, your blue and pea green walls, but we cannot be choosy when Mother Nature calls. We use our air-cooled outhouse and enjoy it every day, while you at home can revel in the ultra-modern way. Enjoy it every day, while you at home can revel in the ultra-modern way. This shot shows a group of photographers in front of our photo lab on the island that we were on. You'll see me in the second row there with that circle drawn around the head. As near as I can tell, or have been told at this time, there's only about maybe a half a dozen of us still alive today out of this group.